Hello, good people. My name is Fumi, and I am a business analyst turned software developer. I am documenting my learning journey as I explore and get familiar with the ServiceNow platform. Today, we're building a fully dynamic, reusable approval engine. Instead of hard coding a flow just for one scenario, we're going to be architecting logic that scale across any ITIL process. We will do this by using the core task table, the true backbone of ServiceNow. This is because tables like incident, change, and problem extend from it. So building our engine here guarantees maximum flexibility. Finally, we will automate our parent-child records and package the whole solution safely for migration. Here is a real-world case study for superwebsites.com, a web development agency. As you can see, the flow is initiated when a developer pauses any incident they believe might be out of scope. This then goes on to trigger a scope review request by the Client Engagement Managers group. Now, if they approve the scope, then the developer resumes work. But if they reject it, the ticket stays on hold and a new subtask is to be created for the CEM group to handle the next steps. Before we dive straight into the Workflow Studio, it's always best practice to plan our architecture. I have broken this build down into 5 distinct phases. Phase 0 is where we will handle our group and user setup. In Phase 1, we will configure our on-hold dictionary choices. Scope review for when a developer believes an incident is out of scope, and awaiting CEM direction for when an incident is confirmed to be out of scope by the CEM group. In Phase 2, we'll build our dynamic Subflow engine running against the core task table. For Phase 3, we will construct the incident-specific logic, plug in our Subflow engine, and ensure we have safe, accurate triggers to prevent infinite loops. And to wrap up in Phase 4, we will finalize the build by packaging the update set for secure migration to other environments. Let's jump right into the Workflow Studio and get started. To get started, remember we're going to do a migration in Phase 4. So in order to facilitate that, we actually need to create our dedicated update set. For this, we will call it something like superwebsites.com. Let's give it a version, V1. And then we'll make it the current update set. So as you can see, we've got the notification, and also this is an indicator that we're on the right track. So with that being done, the next step is to actually create our Client Engagement Managers group. So we're going to add new. I've already done some prep ahead, so I'm just going to paste in the group name. Let's save that. With that being saved, what we want to do, we want to add in group members. So why not make myself the member? So there we go. Yeah, and I can also, so we've got our member set up. So now that we have our member, let's also add the right roles for the group. Actually, let me save this first. Now let's add the roles. So first row we want the ITIL role. This enables that the members of the group can actually see all incidents and tasks. And then we want the approver user role. so that they can either approve or reject any tasks that come their way. So let's save that. So we have our foundation all good and ready. Now we can move on to the next task. We're going to move on to phase one, which was to configure our on-hold choices on the incidents, right? So I've got two set up for to test a rejected and approved workflow. So what we're going to do now is pretend that we're going to um, apply the hold measures. So obviously our on hold choices are currently not available. So we're going to add them in as options. Scope review for when the developer might deem an incident to be out of scope. And the other is in the instance where the CM managers agree that the incident is out of scope, and I'm just going to move them up the chain. So that's all set up. Now that we've set that up, so we can actually go ahead and use our hold flows. So let me also do the same for the other one. On hold, and we want it to move to scope review. Alrighty, so we have our foundation all set up, meaning that we can finally move to the next steps in the workflow studio. Actually get started on our phase two and start putting together our Subflow engine. All right, so I've gone ahead to pre-fill the Subflow name and the description so we can get started with creating our inputs for the Subflow. We need two of them. One of it is the request review from the developers, which would actually point to a reference type. And we want it pointing to the task table. Remember, we said this is what allows the maximum flexibility. Next, we also would like to configure our approval group, since this Subflow is actually dedicated to the CEM group. So it would just make sense to create the reference table mapping of type reference table to the user group. And we'll make both fields mandatory. So let's save that. And then we want to create our action. In this instance, we want the ask for approval action type. We're going to be using our input. Obviously, we can drag and drop from here, or we can dot walk, whichever is your preference. Here our approval reason. So we want to just call that scope boundary. No, let's call it scope review. And we want this to be approves or rejects. And then when this happens, when anyone approves or rejects. And here we actually want to configure our approval group in this case. So let's save. Alrighty. It looks like we're done with our Subflow. So let's go ahead and publish it so that when we create our um, main engine, the flow, we'll be able to actually access the Subflow. Let's go ahead and give our condition label a name, which is the approved flow. And in this instance, the condition that we actually want here is to track the updated record approval status, right? Which is this. And we want the choice to be approved, and that's set up for the condition. Now, when the condition is met, there's actions that need to be taken, and the action is that the record must actually be updated. So we're going to need to update the record. And in this instance, we want to update the triggered updated record. And then we need to update the fields for that record. We want to change the state from on hold back to in progress, because the CEM managers have deemed the incident to be in scope. And then also, why not let's leave a work note, right? Let's add a work note. I'm just going to copy and paste a note that I have prepared earlier and paste it in. So that's pretty much it for the approved flow. And I personally actually like to end so that I don't get confused in the future. I know, okay, that's a definite end of that specific condition. Next, we need to go back to the main chain. You see, I've come out from the if branch. I need to go back to the main chain and add another flow logic for else if. So we're going to start working on the rejected approval status. So let's give the label a name. So it's the rejected review request label. Again, similar to our approved flow. Once again, we want the updated record, we want the incident record, and then we want the approval. And in this instance, the approval is rejected. And that's the conditions set. Now, with that being set, now just for sake of, I guess brevity, what I'm going to do is duplicate this update incident action, which is now in the fourth place. You see the dots that drag to reorder. I'm just going to pull it and append it here. So that way I can just fill in the fields that we need, because everything else stays the same. So here, of course, we want to move the status to on hold. We also want to add for the work note, we want to declare the rejection of the work note. So let's replace the approved work note and have that there. We want to set the hold reason to awaiting CEM direction. We want to set the assign to empty, because remember it needs to be reassigned, so we clear the assign to. Let's see anything else. So yeah, that's everything that we need to do to update the incident record. So let's save that. Now remember, not only does the status remain on hold and the hold reason shifts to awaiting CEM direction, remember we need to actually create a subtask. So we're going to use the create record action to start that flow. And then specifically in the create action, remember it's a subtask to the primary incident, right? So our table here is actually going to be the incident task table, which is what then goes ahead to establish the relationship. What we're going to do next is to actually start filling in the fields that we want to populate in the new related task. Let's start with the assignment group. Oops, my bad. Assignment group. And we want to set this to the client engagements managers group. Then we want to put in a short description. And I'll just paste in what I've prepared earlier. And then we want to put in the long form description. And let me just grab my prepared description on there. Oh yeah, one more thing actually, I almost forgot. We actually need to link the incident to the subtask. So we're just gonna follow so we link the incident record. And I think that is everything that we need to configure for our subtasks. Once again, I always prefer to formally end my flow so that if I come back to it, I know that I'm intentionally opening the flow or I don't accidentally append a flow of say the main path. And then finally, for good measure, I always like to close off with the error handling. This will be an action, and this is going to be an email. Send email action. So I have pre-filled some of the information for the email. It's just, it's nothing special. I'm just going to go ahead and paste in the final bits. And I think why not for, extra reinforcement, let's attach the records, and then we want to attach the record number. Yeah, that's more like it. So let's just save that. And now before we activate, let's go ahead and test our flow. We have our earlier prepared incidents. Incident 1, we're going to use this to test the approved workflow. So let's run the test. Excuse me. Right, so let's actually preview the triggered state. Let's see. Right. So as you can see right now, remember we had the scope review on hold reason. So it's pending. We need to get the CM manager to actually go ahead and approve. So what we actually need to do, I need to impersonate the manager we set up for me. So let's impersonate for me. I am successfully impersonating for me. So we're gonna go into our approvals, right? And we see the incident requesting the approval. So let's go ahead. This is the test, the approved. So we're gonna actually approve this one. All right. Just remember to, since it's the same instance I'm using, I need to end impersonation. Then I can go back to the workflow. Let's refresh the workflow. And you can see that the evaluation saw that the status was approved and it did the needful. If we go into so you can see for the ask for approval, the status changed to approved. And when we come back here, we can see for the update record, it was completed. And once we expand it, we see that the fields, the state, moved to state 2, which is in progress. And then the work note was updated respectively. And we can also preview the record directly in here. So you can see on here, it's in progress. And yes, so it's back to the original developer to get working. I repeat the test flow for the reject flow. So we've got the 002 from earlier that we created. So it's processing. Once again, similar to the approval state, it's pending the approval. So I'm just going to do this behind the scenes. I'm going to impersonate for me, and then we'll be back. I'm back. I have done the rejection as for me. So let's go ahead and refresh the workflow. And as you can see, it evaluated that the incident was rejected. So it's gone on to update the record. As you can see, let's do a quick preview of the record. So the status is on hold. It's awaiting CEM direction, as you can see. And obviously you can see that the work note was also updated. Now let's go on to look at the create record, because remember, I'm supposed to create a task, right? So we've got the short description updated, the full description updated, the assignment group updated, the incident record also updated. So you see right here is the task. If we go right into the task, we can see that the incident number is linked to the task, the assignment group is set, the short description set, and the full description also set. So that is a wrap for our testing. So I guess at this stage, we can actually go ahead to activate our flow so that it's live and available for the CEM managers in the final stage, phase 4, which is preparing for migration. So just to get started, I'm going to start with our user group, which I've marked as a favorite. We find our client engagement managers group. And in order to export, remember, we don't export the actual members of the group, but what we can export would be the related roles. And if there were any, if there were groups that the group was, configured to be within. So let's go ahead. We right click on the gray panel. We go export, and then we go for the XML, this record. So that's been downloaded. Next, we actually need to also download our update set. So this is the super website. That's us right there. In order to actually get that done, we want to complete. The reason we have to complete it is so that I can close it off. And once it's been completed, we now have the option to export to XML. So let's click on that and download. And if you notice, the red shadow is gone and we're back to the default update set. And that's a wrap. Thanks for sticking with me all through the tutorial. If you have any questions, please do leave them down in the comment. If there's anything that you want me to help you investigate and learn and do a new tutorial, please do feel free to do so. You have a good day and take care.